And that's really how the game was born. We packaged it up. We were ready to go on to Kickstarter. This is what Kickstarter looked like right before we launched. These are the top 4 games in Kickstarter history. Way over there on your left is Ouya. They raised $8.6 million, the top funded game in Kickstarter history. And we looked at this, each of these raising, $4 or $5 million. We looked at these and thought, okay, so this is what massive success looks like. We're only going to try to raise $10,000. But it's good to at least know what the absolute winners look like, what the people at the top of their game, the top of Kickstarter look like. And so we looked at them, we chuckled a little, we said, let's see how we do on our own. Let's get started. We put up the page. Like I said, we were trying to raise $10,000. We'll do so in 30 days. Everyone can jump onto this page, give us as much money as they would like, and in return, we'll just give you a copy of our game as soon as it's ready. So we held our breath, hit go, and holy crap, we got funded in 20 minutes. We raised $10,000 in 20 minutes, and it did not stop there. It went crazy. 7 hours later, we were looking at $1 million raised for this game. By the second day, we were at 2 million, and then 3 million, and on. This just runaway insanity went. And we were a little bit nervous because, holy crap, that's a lot of orders we have to fulfill. But once we started getting used to that, once we started saying, okay, cool, we're going to actually have a big success here, we started looking at a trend. And this is what the trend looked like. Really, really strong opening day, like I said. But every day after that, it dropped a little. And then it started to really drop, like really scary drop. And while day 6, $100,000 in one day is phenomenal, more than most Kickstarter projects ever make, compared to day 1, we saw a very, very scary trend. And we thought, all right, we got 2 choices. Choice number 1, we just sit back and let this happen. Let this thing crater into the ground. We've already made more money than we can possibly fulfill, right? Because we have to fulfill all of those orders. And we just let this thing die. A nice, quiet, elegant death. Option number 2, we look back at those top 4 people and we try to aim for the number 1 spot. And to aim for the number 1 spot is really tricky, especially staring at a trend like this. But we thought, 8.5, we're at like 3. And we've done 3 in 1 week. Is it possible to hit this? And the question is, how the hell did they do this? This is insane. And I'm a huge data nerd. I love data. I love numbers. I download every bit of data I can possibly get. So what I did was I found all the statistics on Ouya, how they actually pulled this off. What you're looking at is the number of dollars raised by Ouya every day of their campaign. They had the same terrifying trend that we had, and they stayed really low for a while. But then at the end, they had a few little spikes and a huge ending. And so I thought, how are they doing this? Like, where does a huge ending come from? Where do those spikes come from? How do we simulate that same thing? Because, by the way, they also had a much bigger start than we did. So I downloaded some more data. And on Kickstarter, for every page, there's community boards. So it's just message boards where people talk about the project. And I started looking at the number of posts on their page per day. And I could look at the timestamps of when money came in and when posts came in. And what you notice is a 1-to-1 correlation between these things. Every time they could get people to talk on their web page, an equivalent amount of money would show up in pledges. There was literally this really beautiful 1-to-1 correlation. And I started thinking about that, like, this is probably the secret that nobody's talking about. Because the way that everybody thinks about crowdfunding is focus on the funding. In fact, don't worry about the crowd part. Focus on the funding. Let's get as much money as we can. That's exactly what we did for our first week. But that data shows actually we should be thinking about this the other way.